Welcome to the Subway Conversation Chat. I'm your host, Jamie Malloy, and I'm here to talk some New York baseball with you all and my co host, Joe Dalio. So, without any further ado, here's Joe. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
It is going great. How you doing, Jamie?
Fantastic. How about Yankees are off to a great start, which was disappointing game yesterday, but bounced back with another extra inning heroics game. So we're gonna talk about that. And how are you doing?
Yeah, I doing great. We did this show a week ago, and we were looking forward to the season. It was opening day eve, and we were very excited about that. Excuse me. And now here we are with this show, already a week into the new season, and already a very interesting one. So, still lots to talk about. And again, I'm just very happy that baseball season is here and that we have this information to talk about, and that it means something again. It's beyond spring training, and things are starting to take shape. Some of us the way we want it to take shape, some of us not so much, and we'll certainly discuss that. But definitely looking forward to talking about that and some things going on around the league. But I'm going to defer to you here, Jamie. So let's talk the first week of the season here. What's going on in Yankees land?
If you're a Yankees fan in Yankee land, you couldn't be more excited about the hot start with this brand new exciting team. The starting pitching is been fantastic, even without Garrett Cole. They have a quality bullpen, and their batting lineup is solid 1 through 9. So they've already accomplished those three things early. Um, Opening weekend, we thought what would happen against the Astros, and lo and behold, therefore the Yankees swept the Astros all 4 games. Then they won a series against the Arizona Diamondbacks, who went to the World Series last year. So couldn't start out a better road trip, going 6-1, and now it's going to be the home opener versus our AL East rivals, the Toronto Blue Jays. So I'm going to turn it back to you about the Mets.
Well, as much as it's a dream start for the Yankees, it's basically a nightmare start with the Mets. Now, again, I don't think we have to panic just yet. There's been bad starts before, and I was looking at some of these. Back in 2014, they started 0-3. I think Terry Collins was still managing the team at that. I know Terry Collins was managing the team at that point. Going back, I remember the worst start that I can think of recently anyway was 2005. That was when Willie Randolph first started managing them, and they went 0-5 in their first games. I mean, the Mets are 0-4 now. Now, there's a little bit more reason for concern this time around, and this may very well be. I meant to look back to like the first days of the Mets, like the 62 season, obviously, where they were the worst team ever. And, 63 first few seasons. And I forgot to check those. I wanted to see what kind of starts they got off there. But this could be one of the worst starts the Mets have ever gotten off to. Here's a few reasons why. I mean, they're last in runs scored per game, 2 runs per game. That's not going to get you anywhere. And just some of this is not against good competition, first of all. I mean, the Brewers, we picked to win games, maybe in the mid 70s, 75 wins, 74 wins. To get swept by a team like that, and then to lose to Detroit, it's only 1 game. I mean, weather is preventing them from getting these games in. They're going to play a doubleheader tomorrow. But, excuse me, I mean, the Tigers are nothing special, nothing to write home about either. And who knows, maybe later in the season we'll see, wow, these are really good teams. And we didn't know that at this time. We might. But I don't believe that right now. And the fact that these games are all happening at home. When they got off to that 0-5 start, back in 2005, those were all road games. So, this, again, is concerning that that it's at home and it's against inferior competition, in my opinion. I mean, the Mets were nothing to write home about either, but I think they're better than both of these teams overall. And the fact that some of their superstars here are just getting off to nightmare starts as well. Both Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo are 1 for 16. So that gives them an 063 batting average apiece, 229 OPS. Now, you're going to hear me say that OPS all year throughout this show because, as far as the simple statistics, anyway, I think that is the most telling offensive statistic there is as OPS, combining the slugging percentage with the on base percentage. So I'm a big stickler for that. And to me, that's the number one stat as far as the ones that the simple person like us can understand. So Lindor and Nimmo 1 for 16. I think one of them, I think Nimmo's maybe got 2 walks and Lindor 1, if that. I'm not even sure about that. But 063, that's not a great way to start. McNeil, 1 for 12, a 167 batting, or I'm sorry, an 083 average and a 167 OPS. So that's just nightmare starts. Now, there are some positive spots here to share. Alonso's got a home run. Brett Beatty hit a big 3-run home run. So he's their RBI leader at a whole 3. But again, that's not bad. 3 RBIs in 4 games. That's nothing to complain about. A 750 OPS. Again, Pete Alonso hitting a home run. Francisco Alvarez with a 1252 OPS. So that's top notch. He's got a home run as well, batting 429 as far as regular batting average. So Francisco Alvarez definitely picking up where he left off, and we expected him to improve this year. And if this is any indication, he's not going to have a 1.252 OPS all year, but still, that's an excellent start. Same with Sterling Marte, 1080 OPS and a home run. He hit the first home run of the year for the Mets. So, some good stuff there. And game by game, I didn't see the third and fourth game. I watched the opening day game, and I just kept thinking, oh my goodness, please don't let this be the case. It was, to me, I criticized the Mets last year for their lack of heart, for their being very uninteresting and very uninspired. And on opening day, that's the Mets team that I saw. And it was very disheartening. I says, not so much that they lost, but just the way, again, that there was no spark. There was no, it seemed, motivation. So that was disheartening. And then in the second game, they're down 7-2 and fight back and make it 7-6. And there was a point, I swore the Mets were going to come back and win that game. Excuse me. I really thought they were going to actually pull it off. And it was the opposite of what we saw for game one. They had heart. They were motivated. They were down 7-2. They could have easily given up, but they didn't. And they fought back. Beatty hit his big 3-run homer there. Alonso hit one to get him even closer. So they came up short in that game, but at least I saw the heart that I wanted to see and the fire. And again, it sounds like I didn't see the game on Sunday or Monday, but doesn't sound like there was much going on. So very concerning. They got a new manager in there, and that's again, they started slow for Willie Randolph and ended up okay. This team is not this bad, so they are going to improve. You even said that. It's like, don't worry, throughout the week as we talked, it's going to be better. And I believe it is. Again, this team is not as bad as they're showing right now. And now it's kind of tough to get going because the weather and they've missed a couple of games, and now they got to play a doubleheader tomorrow. So, that's tough. Pitching wise, just to go over that, I mean, they're still in the bottom 2/3 of the league as far as runs allowed. They're 19th in runs allowed, which could be improved. Starting pitcher was suspect in the beginning of the season. And again, you kind of didn't know what Quintana was going to give. You didn't know what Severino was going to give. And both of them were subpar, although I credit both of them for hanging in there and at least getting some innings in. Sean Manaea was another question mark, and he pitched an excellent game. I mean, he only gave up one hit in 6 innings, 8 strikeouts as well, with a .5 whip. So that's a great way to start. And the only issue with him is staying healthy. I mean, he could be a valuable addition to this staff, but again, hopefully he stays healthy throughout the entire season. So, that was encouraging. And then McGill, their other pitcher, going down. He's on the disabled list now, and I don't know what's going to happen with that. I mean, he's a mediocre pitcher anyway, but still, they need some guys to get some innings and to get some quality starts in. So, we'll see what happens with that. But it was nice to have Edwin Diaz back. The trumpets and everything. So he pitched 2 scoreless innings, gave up a hit, 3 strikeouts, .5 whip as well. So he looked great. His innings there. Couple other pitchers, Brooks Raley, again, same thing as Diaz, 2 innings pitched, only gave up a hit. He had 3 Ks and a .5 whip as well. Drew Smith, 2 quality innings. Another questionable guy, Tonkin, who was one of the guys fighting for the last couple of spots there. He did well also. He pitched 3 innings, gave up 2 hits and had 2 strikeouts during those innings. I think his whip was 1. But some interesting things happened during the week too, as far as the whole Jeff McNeil and Rhys Hoskins thing. I can't stand Rhys Hoskins, not because of what he did in this game, but just for, the Mets-Phillies rivalry and always giving the Mets fits and stuff. So, I was just like the Mets fans that were booing him, and it seemed like the more they booed him, though, the better he got. And he just had an amazing series there, and just the adversity there just fired him up. So I do have to tip my cap to him there for not folding under that and just excelling and just taking his game a step further, coming back from an ACL injury that he was out all year, and to have that kind of performance in that environment, I think was excellent as well. And then just to have, we mentioned it backstage here before the show, Mendoza already getting baptized here and being suspended a game because somebody threw at Rhys Hoskins. And I don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that, he did throw at him. And, we're not going to condone throwing at people on the show here. However, if that's, and the guys, the Mets broadcasters were even saying this at the time, that wasn't the time to do it anyway. If you were going to throw at Rhys Hoskins, that was going to happen the game before, or that was going to happen at his first at bat in this game, or, the first at bat, not his 4th at bat of that second game. Why you're throwing at him at that point after, again, he's already killed you offensively and kind of proven his point. I think it was not wise if you're going to throw at somebody to throw it at that point of the game. And again, I'm not somebody that condones that part of the game anyway. I mean, throw inside. I am a proponent of throwing inside at somebody, and brushing them off the plate, and things like that, and send a message that way. But, so even that, they didn't even do that right, so there's just a lot of things going wrong in the first week. And hopefully, it's more magnified because it is the first week. But this team is much better than that. And hopefully, as time goes on, maybe they get away from home and get some of the pressure off. That might make a difference there. So that's my take on the Mets there. Again, Tyler McGill on the IL now because of a shoulder strain. Another pitcher we talked about last week, one of those middle tier relievers, Sean Reed-Foley. I had mentioned how there was 3 pitchers fighting for 2 spots on the roster, and that was made easier when Reed-Foley went down with, they said, a shoulder impingement. I don't know if that's a nerve thing or exactly what that is, but so he went down and Tonkin and Mr. Headhunter there, who I'm blanking on the name at the moment, Santana, I believe, or yeah, I'm blanking on the name, but uh, so they got those final relief spots. But again, as I said, some good relief performances here. It's just the starting pitching that's going to be an issue for this team, probably going forward for most of the year.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Thank you, Joe, for all of that. And one thing with starting pitching now, it's the one thing you got to just hope for is they always go 5 innings and then you just have a quality bullpen after that, because a lot of pitchers aren't Garrett Cole anymore that can
Mm-hmm.
go a full game, so it's just harder now.
Yeah. Don't you miss that part of the game? I used to love seeing these starters all go 7, 8 innings, at least the best ones. And then you have the reliever come in for 2 or 3 innings. But, maybe one day, we'll get back to that, where these pitchers, it doesn't matter how many pitches they're throwing, within reason. And they're going, instead of 4, 5, 6 innings, they're going more like 6, 7, 8 innings and getting some complete games and things like that. Although we did have a no-hitter this week, so that's a rarity that I didn't think we'd see much of, and we already got one for this year, so that's kind of cool.
You read my mind, Joe. I will be talking about that, and that has
Awesome.
to do with the Houston Astros, and that was their first win of the season after being swept by the Yankees. So,
Yep.
Anyway, with almost a full week of games played with both the Yankees and the Mets, and the bench clearing brawl by the Mets that you already mentioned about, and I loved hearing, because that's what's a Carlos Mendoza or a Aaron Boone disciple team without that, showing toughness
Right.
and heart. But that's the one thing, Joe, you said you wanted to be entertained, and Carlos Mendoza is definitely going to keep Mets fans and this team on their toes all season long, because he comes from that Aaron Boone type of, or even some people call him the Venezuelan Earl Weaver. I heard an article called
Yeah.
him that.
Well, they need some fire, and they need somebody like that. Again, just do it right. Again, that if it was his decision to have the throw at the guy, that again, do it right. Do it in the first inning or do it the game before. But yeah, that's good. Hopefully, we will see some fire and stuff with him, but within reason anyway.
Exactly. So anyway, I would like to start off with opening day of the MLB season, Thursday, March 28th. Here are all the scores of the games played. So the first matchup, this was a AL East versus AL West matchup, with the defending AL East champion Baltimore Orioles taking care of business against the Los Angeles Angels by a score of 11-3. The Cincinnati Reds won their National League game versus the Washington Nationals by a score of 8-2. In the battle of two California teams, the San Diego Padres get by the Giants with a score of 6-4. The LA Dodgers already continue to get off to their hot start, beating the young but improved St. Louis Cardinals. Nevertheless, the Dodgers win that one easily, 7-1. In an AL East battle, the Toronto Blue Jays keep showing why they're a contender in the AL East, or a wildcard team, with Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Ernie Clement, and as they pummel the Rays in Tropicana Field with a score of 8-2. The Minnesota Twins get off to a nice start, beating the Kansas City Royals 4-1. And in a matchup of AL Central teams already, the Detroit Tigers beat the Chicago White Sox with a very ho-hum game, winning 1-0. And then Adam's going to be happy about this, our producer. The Pittsburgh Pirates come back to beat the Miami Marlins 6-5 in 12 innings.
They're playing. This team's playing like the '79 Pirates all of a sudden, like to start the season. It's like, what's going on with that? I mean, it's good to see it, but they're pounding the ball all over the place.
Exactly, like Roberto Clemente did back then. And
right?
Yep. And the defending World Series champion Texas Rangers get by the Cubs 4-3 in 10 innings. That was an exciting game. The Cleveland Guardians just continued to prove my point that the A's should just really get out of Oakland and go to Vegas. Like at some point, we don't know when that's going to happen, but if that's any indication, the Guardians thump the A's 8-0. And the defending World Series runners-up, the Arizona Diamondbacks, pummel the Colorado Rockies 16-1. I guess it was basically Rocky Mountain Low Colorado instead of Rocky Mountain High Colorado.
Basically, everybody's pummeling the Colorado Rockies these days.
Yeah. And then the Boston Red Sox get by the Seattle Mariners on the road with a 6-4 win. And finally, my New York Yankees come back from 4-0. And starting pitcher Nestor Cortez acquitted himself by going 5 innings. And the Yankees beat the Astros 5-4. They would eventually sweep them 4-0 in the series.
That's crazy. I was surprised at that one, but the great comeback by the Yankees there.
And since, Joe, we've already done your Mets highlights, let's talk about my Yankees highlights.
Okay.
So to start out, Juan Soto had an outstanding first game with the Yankees, and I just think since then he's just been a blessing for this team. Michael Kay was comparing him to Wade Boggs, where he's just like, He's got a great eye for the ball. He's very smart. He's patient, and he makes a lot of clutch hits, especially in those extra inning games. He's really come through. The 25-year-old started a bounce back from a 4-0 deficit that nailed the 5-4 win with a powerful throw at the plate. The Astros were down 5-4 in the bottom of the 9th inning with 2 men on, and the ball was hit to right field by Kyle Tucker, while Marciaro Dubon rounded third base for home. And Soto then retrieved the ball and threw a dart to catcher Jose Trevino, who tagged Dubon and out. And the play on the field was reviewed by the officials, and the Houston Astros thought that they were going to get overturned. Nevertheless, Dubon indeed was called out, and therefore the Yankees won the game. Alex Bregman then grounded out into a fielder's choice to bring the Yankees win to 5-4. So continuing on with Juan Soto, the 25-year-old slugger went 1 for 3 with an RBI and 2 walks to help the Yankees save the game in the 9th inning. And I also like to talk about our man Oswaldo Cabrera's opening start while filling in for injured third baseman DJ LeMahieu. He had an impressive start too. He had his first home run of the season to tie the score at 4 in the 6th inning. And he's a versatile utility player, had 5 home runs all last year. Now I'd like to share some other happenings that took place opening day with other MLB teams around the league. First, as a Yankee fan, we do need to congratulate Tyler O'Neill of the Boston Red Sox out of respect and civility for hitting his 5th straight opening day home run. The Sox beat the Mariners 6-4, but it was O'Neill's one impressive home run that kept his incredible streak going. The 28-year-old's 394-foot rocket off Mariners reliever Cody Bolton in the 8th inning increased O'Neill's stretch of 5 continuous home runs with hitting a home run. With Neal's homer, he now moves beyond Todd Huntley, former Mets catcher Gary Carter, and Yogi Berra for the most continuous opening home run hits. And guess what? Yogi Berra says it ain't over till it's over. Therefore, it's not over yet, as we got more to talk about. What makes the day even more special for O'Neill was that he grew up in Burnaby, British Columbia, with Seattle being the closest MLB city to where he lived. That's out in West Coast Canada. Yep. And he was able to invite 20 family and friends to T-Mobile Park. Therefore, it was a real family affair. Now, we have a big injury update with DJ LeMahieu. The Yankees added LeMahieu to the injury list on opening day, retroactive to March 25th. LeMahieu was verified with a non-displaced fracture on the top of his right foot after an MRI on March 29th. Aaron Boone stated that LeMahieu will have another MRI taken on or around April 12th. Therefore, the third baseman's progress will be judged by his tolerance. And on March 29th, LeMahieu was able to hit in the batting cages. And nevertheless, on April 1st, Boone said that it does seem like he's doing a lot better over the last 5 days or so. However,
Good.
he's still not playing right now as Oswaldo Cabrera is picking up the pieces for him.
Is there a timeline that they gave for his return, perhaps, or do they not know yet?
After he has his MRI, then they're going to decide if he's going to come back or not. But I mean, I do wish for a speedy recovery. LeMahieu's an awesome player, but right now, Oswaldo Cabrera is the hot hand, especially going 4 for 4. You don't want to take the hot hand away from him, even if LeMahieu comes back.
Right, which says there's no need to rush LeMahieu back, especially if he keeps playing as well as he is.
No, there's no intent to.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm. Now, Joe, I'm going to throw it over to you and ask you questions about will shortening the pitch clock improve the quality of the game. So you ready for this?
I am ready.
All right. Now, in only 1 year of the pitch clock, games went breakneck fast in 2023. Okay? So then the games lasted an average 9-inning time of 2 hours and 39 minutes, 24 minutes quicker than 2022, and the shortest is 1985 when games lasted 2 hours and 40 minutes way before the pitch clock. And now games should go even quicker in year 2. So, Joe, what do you think of these statistics here of in the first year of the games last year going 239, which was 24 minutes quicker than 2022, but even shorter since 1985. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I love baseball, but I don't want to spend 3.5 hours watching a game. I can't spend 3.5 hours watching a game. I go to bed earlier and earlier as I get older. So, in my opinion, and I'm not the only one that shares this opinion, it seems to be the majority opinion. I think the pitch clock really not saved baseball, but really helped it a lot. Because they were about to lose fans, and even people like me that have been watching baseball for over 50 years, I was a little disenchanted with it. It's like, am I seriously going to start watching this game when I know I can't see the end of it? So I love what they did with the pitch clock. You watch a game from 1985 or from 1975 or from anywhere before that, and there was no pitch clock, but the pitchers and batters were doing things the way they're doing them now, except without a clock. The pitcher got the ball, he threw the ball. The batter got in the box, and instead of going through like 100 different gyrations after every pitch, he was in the box ready to swing. So now, obviously baseball got away from that, and it kept getting worse and worse, and the games kept getting longer and longer. Now the pitch clock forces things to get back to the way it was. Again, the pitcher gets the ball, he throws it. The batter's in the box, and he swings, or he's ready to swing and ready for the pitch. They get a timeout if they need it. And, the pitcher, I even love the fact that the pitcher can't throw over to first base 100 times. And again, a lot of baseball purists will disagree with me, say it takes away from the game a little bit. And I get that. Again, I'm a traditionalist too, and I like a lot of the traditional things that baseball has or had. But I think this is the best thing that's happened to baseball as long as I've been watching it. Because again, it got to a point where I wasn't motivated to start watching a game that I knew I couldn't finish watching. And now I know I can watch a game at 7:30, 8 o'clock even, and know that I can see the end of this game, most likely. So, I think it's a great thing that's happened to baseball. Now, I know you've been watching baseball for a long time too. I mean, what do you think about the pitch clock, and how do you think it worked last year?
Well, thank you. Well, for my age, I've been watching it for a long time, but age is just a number anyway. But yeah, I definitely think to echo your point, it is the best thing that they've done because, like I said, it's like the old days where
Mhm.
they just wind up, they threw the ball, and they moved on to the next pitch. And even they brought back the bigger bases, which was part of the 80s too. They played with
Right.
the bigger bases, which allowed for more speed in the Bo Jackson era. So
Mhm.
that's cool. And I also think out of all the major sports that have the ratings, so here's the thing: we talk about ratings and everything.
Right.
Baseball has these certain ratings, but the reason why their ratings were dying is because they're having a hard time reaching it out to people in my generation, like the younger audiences. Whereas, like that's why ESPN's thinking about pulling back from baseball, and they want to keep the NBA because the NBA is at least appealing towards a younger audience, and that's why they tried to add the pitch clock and all this stuff because they want to appeal it to a younger audience. And I think they're accomplishing that. And over time, it will be a young person's game, just like any other sport.
Yeah, I think it will be like it once was. The only problem is some of baseball's biggest games are going against sports, like the NBA or the NFL, especially the NFL. You can have a league championship game in mid October or just another Thursday night football game. And, the Thursday night football game, no matter who's playing, is going to take precedence over the playoff baseball game. And it's sad because it wasn't always like that, but unfortunately, with the audience that we have, and hopefully some of the changes baseball makes can maybe get it back to a point where, no, you know what, the Panthers and I'm trying to come up with a couple of scrub teams. The Panthers and the Broncos are playing tonight. It's a crummy game. So no, we're certainly watching the league championship game between the Orioles and the Astros or something. So hopefully we get to a point and baseball gets itself back where that takes precedence over just another Thursday night game or an opening. Again, it's the first week of the NBA at that time, but people are still watching the opening of the NBA. And again, I understand that I'm at a point where, I enjoy the NBA even more. The NBA is my favorite sport at this point. But if there's a league championship game going on in baseball, especially one that appeals to me, I'm going to go there first. So again, this is one of those things that I think really helps because people watch college football and those games take 1,000 years to play, but football is exciting enough and it's on the sports radar with the young crowd that people are willing to watch that. I'm really down on college football because again, I don't want to spend my entire Saturday just watching one game basically. And again, that's fast moving. It appeals more to people. So they're certainly not going to watch a slow, relaxed baseball game that's going to take up their entire Saturday afternoon or anything like that. And again, they with probably the same mentality that I have. It's like, well, I'm not going to sit and start watching this game if I know I can't finish it. And I think a lot of people have that same feeling. And so again, the pitch clock has changed that and it's going to continue changing it and hopefully get people to know that, okay, well, this is going to be about as long as an NBA basketball game or an NHL hockey game. And shorter than an NFL game. Excuse me. So, I make it sound like, oh, I don't want to watch sports for more than 2 hours. No, I love sports and I would watch sports 25 hours a day if I could. But what I'm saying though is again, the general public has less of an attention span that they've ever had. So these games, the longer they go, the less they're going to watch. And again, the pitch clock, I think makes a big difference in getting it to a reasonable amount of time that's going to make somebody more likely to watch.
One thing you mentioned about college football, though, the one thing they did last year was they actually changed to a hybrid clock rules where it's half NFL and half college. So like the first part of the game, the clock actually runs after the first down, like in the
Okay.
NFL. So the games are actually going a little bit faster now in college with the hybrid model. And at the end of the first half and the fourth quarter, the last 2 minutes, it goes back to college style.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that.
Mm,
Shows you how much college football I watched 2 whole college football games all last year.
yeah. But anyway, back to baseball. I just wanted to add that in
Yes.
there because a lot of our sports are finally thinking forward thinking stuff, which is good to see. Um,
Exactly.
anyway, so let's talk about the 2024 changes to the pitch clock, and then I'll ask you what you think. So,
Okay.
anyway, with the shorter pitch clock, the clock is still on 15 seconds long with the empty bases, but it decreases from 20 to 18 with runners on board. What do you think of that, Joe?
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue with a decrease. I'm okay with that change. I would have been okay if they kept it at 20. I don't think 2 seconds makes that much of a difference. So, just again, that the fact that they're forcing these guys to throw the ball, they're forcing the pitchers to throw the ball when they get it. They're forcing the batters to be ready. And, again, I don't think 2 seconds makes that much of a difference. I wouldn't want it to go any less than it is now, but I would have been okay whether they kept it at 20 or they have it at 18. Do you think that 2 seconds makes any kind of a difference?
Not really. It just makes it, they just have to be on their toes 2 seconds quicker. Really.
Right,
There's no
right.
difference.
And they'll get used to it, I think, just like they did last year.
Exactly. Now, the next point I want to talk about is reduced pitching changes. So, relievers will now have 2 minutes instead of 2 minutes and 15 seconds to warm up after coming in for a mid inning pitching change. What do you think, Joe? Do you think 15 seconds of warm ups actually makes a difference?
Probably not. It probably doesn't make a difference. But then again, any decrease in time with that, I'm in favor of. I mean, obviously, you want them to have sufficient time to warm up and avoid injury and that. But I think I like that decrease there. I think you said it's 2 minutes now, right? I wasn't aware exactly what it was.
Yeah, it is 2 minutes.
I think 2 minutes is perfect, and just to decrease that time because I like the rule changes they made with bringing relievers in a couple of years ago because that was part of the problem as far as major league games taking so long is just you got 100 relief pitchers in every game here and then this one's got to warm up and that one's got to warm up. So they put limitations on that too a couple of years ago, which I certainly agree with. So I think 15 seconds is ideal. It will make a slight difference, but it's still not going to put the pitcher in jeopardy and further their risk of injury because they don't have sufficient time to warm up. I think that's a good change, and I like it at 2 minutes.
Yes, I agree. I like it at 2 minutes too because
Good.
it allows the pitcher to just, like I said, be ready, and they don't have to worry about being replaced with a lefty, righty, lefty, and everything like that. Which now we're gonna talk to stalling banished. So the pitch clock starts now after a dead ball when the pitcher actually grabs the ball, not when he returns to the mound. This eternally now bans stalling for mound rest. Joe, what do you think of pitchers now have to be ready to throw and not intentionally walk off the mound to stall before the batter's ready and before the umpire's ready?
Yeah, I like that idea because, again, you're forcing them to do what they're supposed to be doing anyway. So, and they'll get used to it. Pitchers will say, "Well, shoot, I need that time to mentally focus and strategize." And for whatever reason, they were walking off the mound to stall in the beginning. So again, I like that because and pitchers are going to find ways, no matter how you do this, whether the pitch clock is 15 seconds or it's 5 seconds. Pitchers are going to find ways to finagle with it and use it to their advantage. And again, that's part of the deal. I get that. And you had guys like Scherzer last year that were finagling and he was kind of like the first to find ways around it. And pitchers are smart and they'll do that. But I think this again forces them just to get in there and throw the ball. And you just got to be mentally ready, and you're not going to have time to focus. So just be ready and do what you got to do. So I like that. I think it's a good idea. And, again, they'll mess with it somehow and try to finagle with it. But in general, they'll get used to it and do what they have to do to succeed with it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree?
Yes, I totally agree. It's always good to watch a pitcher be ready instead of watching a pitcher not be ready, and therefore I'd be restless. So
Right.
um so now speaking of which, let's talk about less mound trips. Teams will now be reduced to 4 mound visits per game with pitchers, down from 5 in 2023. So what do you think of that, Joe? One less mound visit?
Again, I'm not going to argue with speeding up the game. They now, you got pitch com and all that stuff. So, you know, I 4, 5. I didn't have a problem with 5, to be honest with you. We'll see if 4 makes a difference. And if it's a horrible thing that they can't live with and it causes problems, they could always put it back to 5. So again, I'm not going to argue with ways to speed up the game, so I'm fine with the 4.
Yeah, I agree with that too. 4 is plenty for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and lastly, let's talk about batter face requirements. The pitchers are now who are sent out to warm up at the start of an inning must face at least a batter before they can be replaced with a lefty righty righty lefty lefty righty situation. And I don't know about you, Joe, but that always annoyed me when they would have to take a pitcher out because this lefty had to face a righty, and we had to uh, do all that. That really annoyed me. Didn't it also to you, Joe? What do you think?
Yes, and we talked about this backstage earlier. I miss the days where pitchers pitched 7, 8, 9 innings. Even 6 innings, 5 innings. If a starting pitcher pitched only 5, that wasn't a good start. Now they're getting a quality start if they're pitching 6, and it's very rare that we see them go 7 and 8 innings. So, I wish we'd go back to the days where the pitch count didn't matter. I mean, within reason, you don't want them throwing 150 pitches in a game, but pitch count wasn't an issue. They're pitching a majority of the game, unless they're getting hit and smacked around, but they're generally going 7 innings, and the relief pitcher only comes in. You only get 1 or 2 relievers coming in. So it definitely bothered me when you getting, again, 100 different relievers coming in. This one's pitching to one batter. This guy gets on the mound and breathes, and then he's out, and then another guy coming in. And then especially what I hated even more is during playoff games when they were doing that. And, they'd bring in a starter. He'd throw to like one batter, and then he'd be gone for the game and stuff. So I like these rules that they put in place. Wasn't there like a minimum? Is that what the rule was a couple of years ago, that they had to pitch to so many guys, or they had to end the inning or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
I something along those lines, and I think that's a great idea, because then you're not going this whole righty lefty thing, and you're not having 1,000 pitching changes throughout the game here, and that's the game take 4 hours as a result. So I'm old fashioned when it comes to pitching. I want to see the starting pitcher go most of the way, and if there's a relief pitcher that needs to come in, keep that to a minimum, and the fewer changes we can get, the better.
And before I move on, Joe, we actually have 2 comments from on X from somebody named Coach Chad. The one says, "What's that behind Joe?" The first one says that.
That started from a football show. My daughter went to school for physical therapy, and she had her skeleton with the bones on it to practice, and it had a Bills jersey on it for a while, and then it was suggested by somebody that for this show I put a Mets jersey on. So it's kind of traditional now that's usually behind me for these shows. So that's all.
And then and then after that, he said, "I mean, Jamie." Was he trying to dish you there, Joe? I mean, I don't know, but
Well, you know
anyway,
what? Our names are messed up on this. Like you're under the Joe banner and I'm under the Jamie banner, so we're gonna have to switch that around. But maybe that's what they're talking about there. But either way, we appreciate the comments, whether we're talking about skeletons or signs or banners or whatever.
yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you
so
very
much for
much.
watching.
Thank you very much, Chad. I'm actually the one that's behind Joe is actually me, Jamie, and behind me right here is a Yankee banner that was bought by my wonderful and supportive and businessman, hardworking father who got that for me World Series championship banners. Thank you, Pops, for all you do for your business, your work, and helping me out with this. You're my number one supporter, and I really appreciate it. But thank you also, Coach Chad, for the comments. We love those comments too, folks. Don't forget.
Definitely, we very much appreciate them.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, I'm not scaring anybody with this thing behind me.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, moving on. It is now that time in our show, Joe, for our question of the week segment. Your favorite segment, Joe. Would you like to give it a try?
It is my favorite, except I'm 0 for 2. You know, I keep saying how I know more about baseball than football, but I was doing so much better with the football questions than I am in baseball so far. So I got to get off the schneid here, just like my team. I got to end my 0 for right now.
Okay, so let's do it then. Here's your question. Can you guess this MLB player? He played on 4 teams, has 4 Cy Young Awards, has 4 ERA titles, and won 1 World Series. Is it A, Greg Maddux, B, the big unit, Randy Johnson, C, Pedro Martinez, or D, Roy Halladay, the late Roy Halladay?
All right. Well, I had an idea before you said it, before you said the names, and you said one of the ones, you said the one I was thinking of. I'm just trying to figure out if this guy, you said 4 teams, 1 World Series.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other stats you had?
4 Cy Young Awards and 4 ERA titles.
Oh, my goodness. I don't think Halladay played on 4 teams. I think he only played on 2 or 3. Pedro Martinez. I'm just thinking he played on at least 2, but I don't think he played on 4. Randy Johnson, Seattle, Arizona. Who is the other one you mentioned besides you said
Greg
Halladay,
Maddux.
Maddux? I think he can only think of 2 teams that he played on. All right. Well, I'm going to go with my first instinct here. I was thinking Randy Johnson before you said anything, and I'm going to go with Randy Johnson.
Nope, it was Greg Maddux.
Maddux, shoot.
Randy Johnson played on 3 teams, by the way. You forgot he was with the Yankees too.
I knew he played at least 2. I thought he was 4. I couldn't think of the other team.
It was Arizona, Seattle, and the Yankees.
Okay, I thought maybe there was one more. Maddux played for 4.
Yeah,
he played the Cubs, Braves. Who else did he play for? Do you know? If you don't know, that's fine.
I don't actually know Greg Maddux.
Okay.
I know Pedro. He was the Sox and the Mets. Obviously, he was
Sox and the Mets. I thought, yeah, I didn't think he played for anybody besides those 2. Oh no, he actually. I wonder if he pitched for the Expos.
Yeah, he did. That was before Boston, I think.
Yeah, he did pitch.
And
for
then
the
Roy
Expos,
Halladay, I think, was the Jays, and the Phillies. Those are the
Phillies.
2 I know.
All right,
and the Jays too.
Yep. Yeah, he did great with both of those teams. I mean, Maddux. See, I was thinking him for the ERA titles and stuff, and I knew he won 1 World Series with the Braves. But Randy Johnson, I know he won the World Series with Arizona. But all
Yeah.
right. Well, excellent question as always. I love these questions. Um, hopefully, this is not a sign as to the way the week goes for the Mets, and hopefully they get off the schneid before I do.
You're funny, Joe. Anyway, in other MLB news, the Houston Astros thought their season was over. In spite of being swept 4-0 by the Yankees early, fans were treated to a historic no-hitter by Raul Blanco. Joe, what did you think of this special moment?
I think it's amazing because, as I said earlier, I think the no hitter, because of the way the pitching is set up now, it's going to be even more and more rare. They're not letting these pitchers pitch 9, even if they're like in the 6th inning with a no hitter going. They take these guys out.
You saw that a
Especially
lot last year too. Remember, some of these guys could have gotten a no hitter, but they pulled them.
right, and that's going to happen more and more. And as much as I hate it, it's the reality. So to see somebody actually get a true no hitter, and they said, I think this is the earliest there's ever been a no hitter, or I don't know if
Right.
it's the earliest on the calendar or the soonest into the season, because it was only their 5th game, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I heard something that's people saying that was the earliest we've ever had a MLB no hitter.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love that, and I like to see anybody get no hitters, no matter who they are, what team they're on, especially because of how rare they are, and they're going to continue to be. So kudos to him. That's
Mm-hmm.
excellent.
Yep. Moving on to this. Nevertheless, the no hitter um, was on April Fool's Day. However, it was no joke to the Astros, but it was a joke for the Jays as Blanco fooled them on this magical night. So, Joe, what do you think of this no hitter happening on April Fool's Day and actually being real, but the Blue Jays being the joke of the no hitter?
Yeah, I like the Blue Jays. I've always been a fan of them. So not so crazy about the fact that it's with them. But if somebody would have told me this, I think I heard it the next day. When I first heard about this no hitter, it was April 2nd. If somebody had told me on April Fool's Day, I might have thought they were April fooling me because, again, the no hitter is rare. So I might have thought it was a joke if I had actually heard it on that day. But the fact that I heard it on the 2nd, I believed it. So, but the Blue Jays are struggling hitting so far. So that's a little concerning. But I think they'll get out of that as well. But, great job by the Astros pitcher there to get that.
Exactly. Let's give him his flowers for that.
Definitely.
Anyway, we do have another comment, and it's from my buddy Greg Zimbak of the Forkball. And it's on X. Thank you very much, Greg. And he said it was the earliest ever, Joe. So
okay,
just to clarify it. Thank you, Greg.
Yes, thank you
for your
Thank you for letting
clarification
us
there.
know.
And I can't wait to see more articles you write, buddy, too. And please subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet, Greg. And you too, Coach Chad, at Driving to the Top Productions YouTube channel. Anyway, to move on, Bryce Harper explodes and breaks his opening season hitless streak. Harper started the game on Tuesday with no hits, starting his season 0 for 11 in 3 games played. He started out the first inning with a smashy 420-foot sinker to center field for his first hit of the season. Then in the 4th inning, he struck the ball 103.3 miles per hour with a launch angle of 19 degrees, making this his 1,000th home run of his career. In the 7th inning, the Phillies slugger with the bases loaded and a full count hit a boomer, not a generational slang, not a okay boomer or millennial, Gen Z, Gen X, but meaning a long grand slam, 422 feet to right center field, and it was the 7th of his career. And Harper also tallied his second 3-home run game of his career in a 9-4 victory over the Cincinnati Reds. Congratulations, Bryce Harper, and subscribe to this channel too if you get the time to as well. Driving the Top Productions. If you're listening, that'd be cool.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
if there
same
was
thing with all you
anybody,
Yankees and Mets players. Try to subscribe too. Um,
right? That would be cool.
yeah. Well, it looks like we've come to the end of our show. So, Joe, where can we find you in the social media world on April 3rd, 2024 at almost 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern time?
Wow, I'm still getting over that whole April thing. This year is going fast. I am on Joe Dell Sports on Twitter X. You can find me sharing some information, sharing some excellent articles from Jamie here, and just some other stuff going around the league as well. So, Joe Dell Sports on X Twitter.
Thank you very much, Joe. And then you can always find me, yours truly, on Bill's Chat 1 at Bill's Mafia Chat, and also at Jamie Malloy, the unbiased journalist, at DJ Dogtaz on X, and theforkball.com, where I write about all sports. Thank you much for listening, folks. And before I say this, don't forget to subscribe. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel at Driving to the Top Productions. The more subscriptions, the merrier. And your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen, to quote the late Bob Shepard. You've been listening to the Subway Conversation Chat with Jamie and Joe on Driving to the Top Productions. See you next week, folks.
Have a great week, everybody. Thanks for watching.
And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, please.